On our son's 6th-year birthday dinner, my mother-in-law gifted me divorce papers from all of us, she announced at the restaurant. My husband recorded my reaction for their entertainment. I thanked them, took the papers, and walked out. They had no idea what I'd already done. I should have known something was wrong the moment we walked into Bellissimo that evening. The restaurant was too quiet, too empty for a Saturday night. Patricia had reserved the entire back section for Oliver's 6th birthday dinner, which seemed generous until I realised it meant no witnesses to whatever she had planned. Oliver's little hand squeezed mine as we walked toward the table. He was wearing his favourite blue shirt with dinosaurs on it, the one Tyler's family always said made him look too childish. I'd let him wear it anyway. It was his birthday, and he deserved to feel special, even if his father's family never made any of us feel that way. The table was decorated with blue and green balloons, Oliver's favourite colours. A massive chocolate cake sat on a side table, covered in toy dinosaurs. Patricia stood at the head of the table wearing her signature pearl necklace, and that smile she always wore when she was about to do something cruel but wanted to look dignified doing it. "Jessica, darling, so glad you could make it to your own son's birthday," Patricia said, her voice dripping with fake sweetness. Vanessa snickered from her seat next to Tyler. George sat quietly at the other end, already looking uncomfortable, which was his permanent state around his wife. Tyler kissed Oliver's head, but barely looked at me. His phone was already in his hand, like always. I'd stopped wondering years ago if he loved that device more than his own family. We sang Happy Birthday. Oliver blew out his candles and made a wish with his eyes squeezed tight. I wondered what he wished for. Probably something innocent like more dinosaur toys or a puppy. I hoped it wasn't for his family to be happy together because that wish would never come true. The waiter brought out plates of pasta and chicken. Everyone ate and talked around me like I was a piece of furniture. This was normal. I'd learned to be invisible at these dinners. It was easier than trying to join conversations where Patricia would shoot down everything I said or twist my words into something stupid. Halfway through dinner, Patricia cleared her throat loudly. The sound cut through the restaurant like a knife. Everyone at the table stopped eating and looked at her. Even the waiters seemed to freeze. "Before we have cake," Patricia announced, loud enough that the few other diners in the restaurant could hear, "I have a very special gift for Jessica." My stomach dropped. Patricia never gave me gifts. In 6 years of marriage, the only thing she'd ever given me was criticism and contempt. She reached under the table and pulled out a large manila envelope. The kind lawyers use. My hands started shaking before she even slid it across the white tablecloth toward me. "This is from all of us," Patricia said, gesturing around the table. Tyler was smirking. Vanessa was practically bouncing in her seat with excitement. George looked down at his plate, the coward. "We've been discussing this for quite some time, and we all agreed it's time to make things official." I knew what was in the envelope before I opened it. My fingers fumbled with the metal clasp. Inside were divorce papers already filled out, with a blue pen attached. Everything was complete except my signature. "We thought it would be appropriate to do this at a family gathering," Patricia continued, her voice sweet as poison. "You've had a good run, dear, but let's be honest. You were never really part of this family. You don't come from the right background. You don't have the right education. And frankly, Tyler deserves someone who can actually contribute to this family's legacy, not drag it down with her little hobby business." Vanessa couldn't contain her laughter anymore. It burst out of her like she'd been holding it in all night. Tyler lifted his phone higher. I could see my own face on his screen. He was recording this. He was actually recording what he thought would be my complete breakdown, my humiliation, for their entertainment later. Oliver looked confused. "Mommy, what's happening?" I felt something snap inside me. Not breaking exactly. More like a lock clicking open. They wanted a reaction. They'd planned this whole evening around watching me cry or beg or make a scene they could use against me in court. Patricia wanted me to scream or throw the papers or storm out in tears so they could all tell their friends about how unstable I was, how emotional, how I proved them right about not being good enough for their family. I picked up the blue pen. Patricia's smile widened. She thought I was about to cry. Tyler zoomed in with his camera. Vanessa leaned forward in her seat. I signed my name on every line that needed a signature. My handwriting was steady. I took my time, making sure each signature was clear and legal. The sound of the pen scratching against paper was the only noise in the entire restaurant. When I finished, I placed the pen down carefully. I closed the folder and slid it back across the table to Patricia. Then I stood up and smoothed down my dress. "Thank you," I said clearly. "Thank you for making this so easy." The smile fell off Patricia's face like ice sliding off a roof. I leaned down and kissed Oliver on the top of his head. "Baby, I need to leave now, but I'll see you tomorrow at noon, okay? We're going to have our own special birthday celebration, just you and me. Would you like that?" Oliver nodded, still confused but trusting me the way 6-year-olds trust their mothers. I whispered in his ear, "You are the best thing that ever happened to me. Never forget that." Then I stood up straight, picked up my purse, and looked at each of them one by one. Patricia's face was red with rage that her moment had been stolen. Vanessa looked confused, like her favorite TV show had suddenly changed channels. Tyler had lowered his phone, staring at me like he'd never seen me before. Maybe he hadn't. Maybe he'd never actually looked at me in 6 years. "Enjoy the rest of your evening," I said politely. "The cake looks delicious. Happy birthday, Oliver. Mommy loves you more than anything in the world." I walked out of Bellissimo with my head high and my hands steady. I didn't run. I didn't cry. I didn't give them anything they could use. Behind me, I heard Patricia's voice rise in anger, demanding to know what just happened. I heard Tyler's chair scrape against the floor as he jumped up. I heard Vanessa say something about me being in shock and that I'd probably come crawling back within a week. They had no idea. They had no idea that I'd spent 8 months preparing for this exact moment. They didn't know about the lawyer I'd hired in the next city over, the one Patricia's connections couldn't touch. They didn't know about the secret bank account where I'd been depositing money from my hobby business that actually made more than Tyler's salary. They didn't know about the recordings I had of Patricia admitting to controlling every aspect of our lives. They didn't know about the evidence I'd gathered of financial abuse, emotional manipulation, and Tyler's complete failure as a partner. Most importantly, they had no idea that their little theatrical divorce paper stunt was completely meaningless because I'd filed for divorce myself 3 weeks ago through the proper legal channels. Their papers weren't worth the expensive cardstock they were printed on. I got in my car and drove away from that restaurant. In my rearview mirror, I saw Tyler run out the door, still holding his phone, looking around the parking lot like he couldn't believe I'd actually left. I smiled. Tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock, several emails would be sent automatically from my lawyer's office. The bank would receive documents. Patricia's company would receive documents. The court would receive documents. And by noon, when I picked up Oliver for my court-ordered custody time that none of them knew about yet, their entire world would be falling apart. They thought they'd ambushed me at a birthday dinner. They had no idea I'd been planning their downfall for months. The first time Patricia made it clear I wasn't welcome in this family was exactly 1 week after Tyler and I got married. We'd just returned from our honeymoon in Mexico, and Tyler insisted we go straight to his mother's mansion for dinner before even unpacking at our new apartment. I was still glowing, still believing that marriage meant building a life together, that love could overcome anything. I was so stupid back then. Patricia opened the door wearing white from head to toe, like she was in mourning. She looked at me with those cold blue eyes and said, "Well, you certainly got what you wanted, didn't you?" Before I could respond, she turned to Tyler and added, "I've prepared your old room, sweetheart. I assume you'll want to stay here tonight since Jessica's things are probably cluttering up your apartment." That should have been my first warning. Tyler didn't correct her. He didn't say our apartment. He just kissed his mother's cheek and carried our bags inside like what she'd said was perfectly normal. Over dinner that night, Patricia laid out the rules. She'd found us a house to rent, one she owned, of course. She'd arranged for Tyler to start working at her real estate company in a management position he hadn't earned. She'd even picked out the cars we'd drive, both from a dealership her brother owned. "I'm just trying to help you kids get started," she said with that snake smile. "Tyler's always been so impractical with money. I'd hate to see you two struggle because of poor decisions." I tried to speak up. I had my graphic design degree and had already landed 3 clients. I could contribute. We could make our own choices. Patricia cut me off mid-sentence. "Oh, Jessica, that's adorable, your little art projects. But let's be realistic, dear. You'll need a real income if you want to maintain the lifestyle Tyler is accustomed to." Tyler said nothing. He just ate his steak and nodded along with his mother. That was the pattern for the next 6 years. Patricia controlled where we lived, what we drove, even what Dr. Oliver went to. Every time I tried to assert myself, she'd make a comment about my background, my education from a state school instead of her prestigious universities, my parents' modest house compared to her mansion. The worst part wasn't Patricia's cruelty. It was Tyler's silence. He never defended me. Not once in 6 years. When Patricia made jokes about my weight at family dinners, Tyler laughed. When she criticized my parenting in front of Oliver, Tyler agreed with her. When she redecorated our entire house without asking me and threw away furniture I'd bought with my own money, Tyler said I was being ungrateful. I tried talking to him about it once, about 3 years into our marriage. We were in bed, and I'd worked up the courage to say that his mother's constant interference was hurting our relationship. Tyler rolled over to face me, and for a second I thought he might actually hear me. Then he said, "My mother is just trying to help us. Maybe if you weren't so sensitive and insecure, you'd appreciate what she does for our family." I didn't bring it up again after that, but everything changed 8 months ago. That's when Patricia tried to take Oliver on a 2-week vacation to her lake house without asking my permission first. I came home from a client meeting to find Oliver's bags packed and Patricia standing in my living room with her keys in her hand. "What's going on?" I asked. "I'm taking my grandson to the lake house," Patricia said like it was obvious. "He needs proper family time, not sitting around watching you play on your computer all day." My computer was how I made $40,000 last year, but I didn't bother correcting her. "You didn't ask me." "I'm asking Tyler. You're not his only parent, Jessica." "I'm his mother. And no, he's not going anywhere for 2 weeks without discussing it with me first." Patricia's face turned red. She actually looked shocked that I'd said no to her. "Tyler!" she shouted toward the stairs. Tyler came down, saw the situation, and immediately took his mother's side. "Mum wants to take Oliver to the lake house. What's the problem?" "The problem is nobody asked me," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "And 2 weeks is a long time. Oliver has activities scheduled. I have plans with him." "You're being selfish," Tyler said flatly, "and controlling. My mother wants to spend time with her grandson and you're trying to keep him from his family." That word, controlling, coming from a man who let his mother control every aspect of our lives, made something inside me go very cold. "Fine," I said quietly. "Take him." Patricia smiled, victorious. She grabbed Oliver's hand and walked out. Tyler followed without even looking back at me. I sat in that empty house for 3 hours. Then I picked up my phone and called my mother. "Mom," I said, "I need the name of that lawyer friend of yours, the one who handled Aunt Carol's divorce." My mother didn't ask questions. She just texted me the information 20 minutes later. That night, I started documenting everything. I went through old photos and found ones where I looked miserable at family events while Patricia smirked in the background. I searched through emails where Patricia had berated me or made decisions about my son without consulting me. I recorded conversations on my phone whenever I was around Tyler's family. 3 weeks later, I found the burner phone in Tyler's jacket pocket. I'd been doing laundry, Something Tyler never did himself because Patricia had taught him that was women's work. The phone fell out when I emptied the pockets. I knew I shouldn't look, but I also knew Tyler had no reason to have a secret phone unless he was hiding something. I turned it on. No password. Tyler was always careless about things like that. The messages were all between him and Vanessa. I scrolled through weeks of conversations, my hands shaking harder with each one. Vanessa, Mom's got the papers drawn up. 3 more months and we can do this. Tyler, she's going to freak out. I almost feel bad. Vanessa, please. She's lucky she got 6 years. Mum should have made you divorce her after Oliver was born. You got your son. Now you can upgrade to someone actually worth your time. Tyler, true. Hey, what if we do it at Oliver's birthday? Make it public so she can't make a scene. Vanessa, OMG, that's perfect. Mum will love it. We can record her reaction. I bet she cries like crazy. Tyler, I'm definitely recording it. This is going to be hilarious. I read that conversation 5 times. They were planning to humiliate me publicly at my son's birthday dinner. They thought it was funny. They were going to record my pain for entertainment. I carefully put the phone back exactly where I'd found it. I finished the laundry. I made dinner. I acted completely normal when Tyler came home. But inside, I was done. I was done trying to make this family accept me. I was done protecting Tyler from the consequences of his weakness. I was done being the quiet, accommodating wife who took every insult with a smile. 2 weeks later, I was sitting in my lawyer's office 3 towns over. Her name was Mrs. Henderson, and she specialized in cases involving financial abuse and custody issues. She took one look at all my documentation and said, "You have an excellent case. When do you want to file?" "I want to file now," I said, "but I don't want them to know until I'm ready." Mrs. Henderson smiled. It wasn't a kind smile. It was the smile of a woman who'd seen too many cases like mine and was tired of watching men like Tyler and women like Patricia get away with their cruelty. "I can work with that," she said. "Let's bury them." Tyler's car pulled into the driveway at exactly 10:30. I'd been tracking his location on the family phone plan Patricia had set up years ago. She'd insisted on it for safety reasons, but really it was so she could monitor everyone. I'd learned to use their own tools against them. I heard his key in the lock. I was sitting in the living room with a book open on my lap, the same way I'd been sitting for the past 2 hours. My packed bags were lined up neatly by the front door where he couldn't miss them. Tyler walked in and stopped dead when he saw the suitcases. His face went through about 5 different expressions in 3 seconds. Confusion, anger, then something that might have been fear. "What are you doing?" he asked. I turned a page in my book even though I hadn't read a single word all evening. "Exactly what your mother wanted. I'm leaving." "You can't just leave. We need to talk about this." "Talk about what, Tyler? You handed me divorce papers at our son's birthday dinner while recording my reaction for laughs. What exactly is there to talk about?" He ran his hand through his hair, a nervous habit I'd seen 1,000 times. "That wasn't supposed to happen like that. Mum just thought it would be easier if we did it all at once, like ripping off a bandage." "You mean she thought it would be more humiliating if you did it publicly?" I finally looked up at him. "I signed the papers. You got what you wanted. I'll be gone by morning." "Where's Oliver?" "Asleep upstairs. It's his birthday. I wasn't going to wake him up for this. I'll pick him up at noon tomorrow for my custody time." Tyler's face went red. "Your custody time? You don't get to decide that. We'll figure out custody through lawyers like normal people." I smiled. It felt strange on my face, like I was using muscles I'd forgotten I had. "You're absolutely right. Through lawyers, like normal people." Something in my tone made him pause. He stared at me like he was trying to figure out a puzzle. "What did you do?" "I signed the papers your mother gave me. That's what you wanted, isn't it? Stop talking like that. You're being weird." I went back to my book. Tyler stood there for another minute, then stomped upstairs. I heard him check on Oliver, then go into our bedroom. He was up there for about 20 minutes. I knew he was going through drawers, checking my computer, trying to find evidence of whatever he suspected I was planning. He wouldn't find anything. Everything that mattered was with Mrs. Henderson or in accounts he didn't know existed. My phone buzzed. A text from Patricia. "Tyler says you're acting strange. What are you planning?" I didn't respond. Let her wonder. Tyler came back downstairs with his laptop. He sat on the couch across from me and started typing furiously, probably checking bank accounts. After 10 minutes, he looked up. "The accounts look fine. You didn't take any money." "I wouldn't steal from you, Tyler. I'm not like your family." His jaw clenched. "Don't start with that. My family has been nothing but generous to you." I closed my book. "Your family has controlled every aspect of my life for 6 years. They picked where we live, what we drive, what school Oliver would attend, even what doctor he sees. Your mother has a key to this house and walks in whenever she wants. Your sister openly mocks me at every family gathering. And you, Tyler, you've never once stood up for me. Not once in 6 years. That's not fair. My family just has strong opinions." "Strong opinions?" I laughed, and it came out bitter. "Is that what you call your mother telling me I'm not good enough for you at every opportunity? Is that what you call your sister saying Oliver would be better off without me around? Is that strong opinions, Tyler?" He looked uncomfortable, which was as close to guilt as Tyler ever got. "You're being dramatic. Mum can be difficult, but she means well." She handed me divorce papers at a restaurant on our son's birthday while you recorded it for entertainment. Does that mean well? Tyler's phone rang. He looked at the screen and his face went pale. "It's Mom." "Better answer it. You know how she gets when you don't pick up immediately," he answered. I could hear Patricia's voice even though the phone wasn't on speaker. She was practically screaming. "What do you mean you don't know what she's planning? Check everything, Tyler. Bank accounts, credit cards, everything. That woman is up to something. She was too calm tonight." "Too prepared." Tyler was nodding along. "I checked the accounts, Mom. Nothing's missing." "Then check again. Hire someone if you have to. She's not just going to sign papers and walk away quietly. Nobody does that. She's planning something." "I really think you're overreacting," Tyler said, but his voice shook. "I am never wrong about these things," Patricia snapped. "Get off the phone and figure out what she's done. I'm calling the lawyer first thing in the morning." Tyler hung up and looked at me. "Mum thinks you're hiding something." "Your mother thinks everyone is hiding something. It's how she operates." "Are you? Hiding something?" I picked up my book again. "I'm an open book, Tyler. I always have been. You just never bothered to read me." He sat there for another hour, switching between his phone and laptop, checking things I couldn't see. Finally, around midnight, he gave up and went to bed. He didn't say goodnight. We'd stopped saying goodnight to each other about 3 years ago. I waited until I heard him snoring. Then I walked through the house one final time. 6 years of my life lived in rooms that never felt like mine. I stopped at our wedding photo on the mantel. Patricia was in the background of the shot with that disapproving look she always wore around me. I took the photo out of the frame, carefully tore Patricia out of it, and put just the picture of Tyler and me back in. I left the torn piece of Patricia on the mantel with a note written on the back. "Keep this to remember that not everyone you underestimate is weak." At exactly 12:01 a.m., I picked up my bags and walked out the front door. 6 years ago to the minute, I'd walked through that same door as a hopeful newlywed. Now I was leaving as someone completely different, someone who'd learned that silence isn't weakness, someone who'd learned that patience isn't surrender, someone who'd spent 8 months building a case so solid that tomorrow morning, Patricia's entire world would start crumbling. I got in my car and drove to a hotel across town. The room was cheap but clean. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, waiting for 9 a.m. when Mrs. Henderson's automated emails would start sending. For the first time in 6 years, I fell asleep smiling. My phone started ringing at 8:45 a.m. Tyler's name flashed on the screen 15 times before he gave up. Then Vanessa tried. Then Patricia. I silenced all of them and ordered room service breakfast while I waited. At exactly 9 a.m., I called Mrs. Henderson. "Good morning, Jessica," she answered, and I could hear the smile in her voice. "I assume you've noticed the phone calls? They started early. What's happening?" "Everything we planned. The emails went out at 9 exactly. Patricia's business manager has the documentation about the tax irregularities. The bank has the evidence of financial abuse and the proof that you were denied access to marital assets. And the court has received all the custody documentation showing Patricia's interference and Tyler's neglect." My hands were shaking, not from fear, from something that felt like justice finally arriving after 6 years of waiting. "What about the house?" I asked. Mrs. Henderson laughed. It was a sharp, satisfied sound. "That's the beautiful part. Patricia's lawyer called me at 9:03. Apparently, she'd completely forgotten that she put the house in both your and Tyler's names 5 years ago for tax purposes. She thought it made you more legally tied to the family. What she actually did was give you 50% ownership of a $780,000 property. And I sold my half. For $1 to Cornerstone Investments exactly as we planned. They're a legitimate company, and they now own half of Tyler's house. He has 30 days to buy them out, at market value, which means he needs to come up with $390,000, or they start eviction proceedings." I closed my eyes and let that sink in. Tyler didn't have that kind of money. His salary at Patricia's company was good, but not that good. Patricia would have to pay it herself, essentially buying back her own property because she'd tried to be clever with taxes. "There's more," Mrs. Henderson continued. "The divorce papers Patricia had prepared? Completely invalid. You can't file divorce papers on someone else's behalf at a restaurant. Those were theatrical props at best. Your filing from 3 weeks ago is the only legal document. The judge already granted you temporary primary custody based on the evidence of emotional abuse and Tyler's failure to protect Oliver from Patricia's manipulation. What does Tyler get? Supervised visitation twice a month pending a full custody hearing in 6 weeks. But honestly, Jessica, based on what we have, I don't think he'll fight it. Fighting means exposing everything his mother did, and Patricia won't want that in public record." My phone buzzed with another call. Patricia again. I let it go to voicemail. "What about the business investigation?" I asked. "The IRS doesn't share details with me, obviously, but I know the complaint was filed, and they take anonymous tips seriously, especially when they come with documentation. Patricia's company will be under audit for months. Even if nothing criminal sticks, the scrutiny alone will damage her reputation." "Good," I said, and I meant it. After I hung up with Mrs. Henderson, I finally listened to the voicemails. There were 12 of them. The first one was Tyler, confused and angry. "What did you do? Mom's lawyer is saying something about the house. Call me back right now." The second was Vanessa, shrill and panicked. "You can't just take Oliver, that's kidnapping. Mum's calling the police." I smiled at that one. Let them call the police. I had court orders. The third voicemail was Patricia, and her voice was pure venom. "You sneaky little witch. You think you're clever, don't you? You think you've won? I will bury you in legal fees. I will make sure you never see Oliver again. I will destroy you." The fourth message was Patricia again, 30 minutes later, and her tone had changed completely. "Jessica, let's be reasonable. Perhaps we were hasty at the restaurant. These things can be worked out. Call me back and we can discuss this like adults." Too late for that, I thought. By message 7, Tyler sounded desperate. "Please, Jessica, Mum is losing it. Just tell me what you want. We can fix this." Message 9 was Patricia's lawyer, professional and cold. "Mrs. Brennan, this is Jonathan Cross representing the Brennan family. We need to discuss the property situation and custody arrangements. Please call my office at your earliest convenience." The last message was Tyler again, and he was crying. Actually crying. "I don't understand. How did you do all this? When did you even have time? Please call me back. We need to talk about Oliver. He's asking for you." I deleted all the messages except that last one. I saved it, not because I felt sorry for Tyler, but because I wanted to remember this moment. The moment when he finally understood that I wasn't the weak, stupid woman his family thought I was. At 11 a.m., I checked out of the hotel and drove to Patricia's mansion. Not to see her, but to pick up Oliver from Tyler's emergency overnight visit. Tyler's car was in the driveway along with Patricia's Mercedes and 3 other vehicles I didn't recognize. Probably lawyers. I knocked on the door. George answered, looking older and more tired than I'd ever seen him. "Jessica," he said quietly, "they're all in Patricia's office. It's bad in there." "I'm just here for Oliver." "He's in the living room watching cartoons. He doesn't know anything's wrong." George paused. "For what it's worth, I'm sorry. I should have stood up to Patricia years ago. I should have protected you." It was the first time anyone in that family had ever apologized to me. It didn't change anything, but I nodded. "Thank you, George." Oliver looked up when I walked into the living room. His face lit up like sunrise. "Mommy, are we having our special birthday day today?" "We absolutely are, baby. Go get your backpack." He ran upstairs. I heard raised voices from Patricia's office, then a door slamming. Tyler appeared in the hallway, his eyes red. "You can't just take him," Tyler said. I pulled out my phone and showed him the court order. "I have primary custody. You get supervised visits twice a month." "It's all legal, Tyler. More legal than anything your mother tried to do." 3 weeks passed before I saw any of them again. Oliver and I had settled into our new life in a small coastal town called Harbor Bay, 3 states away from Patricia's controlling reach. The rental house was modest, but it was ours, truly ours, with a yard where Oliver could play without someone criticizing how he did it. My design business had actually grown since we left. Without Patricia's constant interruptions and Tyler's dismissive comments about my hobby, I'd landed 6 new clients and raised my rates. Turned out I was actually good at what I did when I had the space to focus. Oliver was different too. Happier. He laughed more freely, played more loudly, asked questions without that nervous look he used to get around Patricia. He'd stopped asking when we were going back to the old house after the first week. Mrs. Henderson called one afternoon while Oliver was drawing dinosaurs at the kitchen table. "I have updates," she said. "Tyler signed the custody agreement. No fight at all. You have primary custody, he gets supervised visits every other weekend, and Patricia is explicitly banned from those visits unless you give written permission." He just signed it? No arguments? His lawyer advised him that fighting would mean a public trial where all the evidence of abuse and manipulation would become court record. Patricia didn't want her reputation destroyed, so she told Tyler to settle. And the house? Patricia paid the $390,000 last week. She was apparently furious about it. My contact at her lawyer's office said she broke a lamp. I smiled at that mental image. "What about the business investigation?" "Ongoing. Can't give you details, but let's just say Patricia's company is having a very difficult quarter. Several clients have pulled out due to the scrutiny." After we hung up, I sat on the porch watching Oliver play. My mother had visited the day before and brought homemade cookies. Real family, the kind that actually cared about you, not the kind that treated you like property. The peace lasted until Thursday afternoon when a car I didn't recognize pulled up to the house. Vanessa stepped out wearing designer sunglasses and an expression that was trying to look apologetic but couldn't quite hide the resentment underneath. I met her at the door before she could knock. "What do you want, Vanessa?" "I came to talk. Can I come in?" "No." She pulled off her sunglasses. Her eyes were red like she'd been crying, but I didn't trust it. "Jessica, please. The family is falling apart. Mom is barely speaking to anyone. Tyler moved back in with Mom and Dad. The business is struggling. We just want to make things right. You had 6 years to make things right. We didn't realize how badly we treated you. We thought you understood it was just family dynamics the way we joke around." I almost laughed. "Joke around? Your mother handed me divorce papers at my son's birthday dinner. Your brother recorded it for entertainment. You spent 6 years mocking everything about me from my weight to my career to my family. Those weren't jokes, Vanessa. That was cruelty. Mom misses Oliver. Can't he at least visit? Just for a weekend? No. You're being vindictive. I'm being a mother. Oliver is happier here in 3 weeks than he was in 6 years around your family. I'm not exposing him to that toxicity again. Vanessa's fake sympathy cracked. You can't keep him from his family forever. A judge will see through this eventually. The judge already did see through something. He saw through 6 years of documented emotional abuse and manipulation. He saw evidence of your mother making medical and educational decisions about my son without consulting me. He saw your brother's complete failure as a father and husband. That's why I have custody, Vanessa. Not because I'm vindictive, but because I protected my son from a family that treated both of us like we were less than human. She had nothing to say to that. After a long silence, she put her sunglasses back on. Mum was right about you. You were always cold, always calculating. No, I said quietly. I was always surviving. There's a difference. I closed the door and watched through the window as she got back in her car and drove away. Oliver came running from his room. Who was that, Mommy? Nobody important, baby. 6 months after the birthday dinner at Bellissimo, I stood in a courthouse for the final divorce hearing. Tyler sat across the aisle with a lawyer Patricia had hired. He looked smaller somehow, defeated. Patricia wasn't with him. Mrs. I. Henderson said her lawyer had advised her that her presence would only hurt Tyler's case. The judge reviewed the documents, asked a few questions, and granted everything we'd requested. Primary custody to me, supervised visits for Tyler twice a month, fair division of assets based on my original filing. It took 20 minutes to end a 6-year marriage. As I walked out of the courthouse, Tyler called after me. Jessica, wait. I stopped but didn't turn around. Why did you wait so long? His voice cracked. If you were this unhappy, why didn't you just leave years ago? I turned to face him one last time. He looked genuinely confused, like he couldn't understand how someone could plan their escape so carefully while smiling through dinner every night. Because I wanted to make sure when I left, you could never pull me back. I wanted to make sure Oliver would be safe, and I wanted you all to remember that the person you dismissed, mocked, and tried to humiliate was stronger than your entire family combined. I paused. You didn't just lose a wife, Tyler. You lost the only person who ever truly loved you despite your flaws. Your mother loves controlling you. Vanessa loves competing with you. But I actually loved you once before you and your family spent 6 years teaching me not to. I walked away. He didn't follow. 2 years later, Oliver and I were thriving. My business had expanded enough that I'd hired an assistant. We'd bought our own house in Harbour Bay, a real home with a garden and a room for Oliver's growing dinosaur collection. He was happy, well-adjusted, and doing great in school. I heard occasional updates about the Brennan family through mutual acquaintances. Patricia's business had recovered somewhat, but she'd had to sell part of the company to stay afloat after the investigation. Tyler had remarried someone Patricia approved of, a woman from the right family with the right education. From what I heard, he was miserable. Vanessa still worked for her mother, still had no life of her own. I didn't feel triumphant hearing these things. I didn't feel bitter. Mostly I felt free. On Oliver's 8th birthday, we had a party at our house with his friends from school. Real friends who liked him for who he was, not because of his last name or his grandmother's money. We had pizza and a chocolate dinosaur cake, and Oliver's laugh filled our home like music. As he blew out his candles, I thought about that dinner at Bellissimo 2 years ago. The manila envelope, Tyler's phone recording my face, Patricia's venomous smile, the moment I signed those papers and walked out, leaving them all stunned and confused. They'd wanted to break me that night. Instead, I'd broken free. And that made all the difference.